Hi everyone, this is Jill, and I am going to try and do a tutorial to show you how to make this tag. Okay, I'm calling these the cup of cheer tags. And again, it is made, the tag is made using the Holtz Sissix die 660234, and it's called Tea Time. Okay, I hope that's showing up okay. This is a new camera, so I'm going to see, it's a different camera than what I normally use, and I'm going to see how this works. So we'll see how this video turns out. Anyway, so to start off, of course, you need a die cut, and the first thing that I am going to do is using just some Kraft colored ink. This one happens to be Stampin' Up, but any Kraft colored ink would work. You're just going to edge around your die cut, and that helps to define the edges. It gives the eye something to focus on, which is always a good thing. So we'll just do that really quick. Go around all the edges, and then at the top of the cup there's a little slit. And I'm actually going to ink inside that slit area too to help define it, because that is going to help the cup look more real, especially once we get our marshmallows in there. So I have that all edged up with the ink. And then the next thing we need is to stamp the marshmallows that are inside the cup here. And those marshmallows, again, if you saw my last video, they're from the Friendship Jar Holiday Fillers from Papertrey Ink. It's a photopolymer stamp set. Mine is ancient, and even my case is broken. I actually need to transfer this to a better storage system because it is broken, but I haven't done it yet. But there is the stamp that I'm going to use, the marshmallows. And anytime you're using a photopolymer stamp, ink has a hard time sometimes staying on the stamp. So when you first get new stamps, just rub your thumb or fingers over it, and then when you ink it up, you'll get a really good stamp impression. So I actually am working on this sheet of paper right here, and you can see I've already stamped some of these images out, but I'm just going to stamp a few more. And you could use a MISTI to do this, but for the most part, I only use the MISTI when I'm really trying to stamp something that's either difficult to get a good impression, like sometimes reverse stamps where the background is dark. Sometimes it's really helpful to have something like the MISTI, or even just whatever you can use to be able to line up more than one time. So you can do double impressing if it needs it. But for today, I'm just stamping these out, and then I'm going to cut. And this particular thing does not have a die, as far as I know. They have made a bunch of dies. They may have made a die for this. I'm not sure. But I do a lot of hand cutting. Hand cutting really doesn't bother me. A lot of times, if I know I'm making a set of tags and I know that I'm going to need like 7 sets of marshmallows, or if I think I'm going to need, 10 of something, I will stamp it all out when I'm down here in my studio, and then I just take it upstairs, put a movie on, and I cut while I'm watching a movie. So it never really bothers me. I like having my hands busy, but for people that either have difficulty cutting because it hurts their hands, a lot of us have our, as we get older, we have arthritis and other issues. So if that's the case, it can be helpful to have a die. So you could use like a whipped cream die. You could look around and see what's available on the internet. So you can see this fills half of it, and that's why I need 2. So I have my other one here, and I'm going to continue to just cut around my marshmallows. And as soon as I have them all cut, I'm actually going to be inking the edges. And then we're going to glue and tape them into the little coffee cup. So, and when you are fussy cutting anything, you want to turn the paper and not your scissors, if that makes sense. So you're going to guide your scissors by turning the paper, if that makes sense. You'll get a much cleaner cut that way. So, And everything I'm telling you, I've learned from all the people that have come before me, the Christina Werners, the Jennifer McGuires, every design team post that I've ever read. So, you know, we're all teachers and we're all learners. And that's what's so fun about this hobby. You know, in the old days, people got together and quilted, and they learned quilting techniques from their mothers and their grandmothers. And, you know, nowadays everything's electronic, but we all learn from each other, and I think that's a wonderful thing. So then I just kind of line the two up in there in a way that looks pleasing to my eye. And this little piece always sticks out, but I just trim it off. So before we put them in there permanently, though, we're going to edge. We're going to add a little bit of ink. Again, I'm using Crumb Cake from Stampin' Up, but any light colored Kraft ink would work. So I'm just kind of going around the marshmallows a little bit. And I don't do that inside edge where they're going to join up in the cup. But I do, so I ink the outside edges of both pieces, and then I just run my ink dauber over the top, and that's to kind of make the marshmallows look like they're toasted a little bit. So I just give them a light brushing of the ink dauber, and I don't re-ink the dauber before I do this, so if that makes sense. And you want to try and make them equal in color if you can. Okay, and then I think I forgot to bring my tape over, so let me step away and grab that. Okay, so then we're going to tuck these inside. I hope I'm staying in frame for everything I'm doing. Okay, we'll tuck those inside the way we want them. I'm going to go like that, I think. And then I just take a piece of Scotch tape and I tape them down and back, okay? And that's just going to help hold them in place. Okay, so that piece of Scotch tape helps to hold it in place. But then I'm also going to take a little bit of glue and put it on this liner here, okay? So again, most of the time I use Tombow glue, but any glue will work. This just happens to be what I have on hand. I got a really good deal buying 25 bottles really cheap one time, so that's what I have. If you know you're going to use a lot of glue, buy in bulk. That's my recommendation. So then I just added a little bit of glue just to help hold that in place, okay? So obviously you don't want that tape showing, right? So the next thing I do, oh actually the next thing is the candy cane. So I think I told you guys that the little candy cane die is from Tailored Expression. It's a Little Bits. They have a line of dies called Little Bits, and they're tiny dies. And this is the candy cane. It comes in 2 pieces. And we're going to ink the edges of the candy cane. So, and actually what I do is I just blot it with the dauber. And that's to kind of make it look more like one of those candy canes you find in the health food section that are more brown than white. And that's going to fit better with our tag. And then we're just going to glue the white piece onto the red piece, and I just use little dots of glue. You're going to end up putting glitter glue on top of this, so it doesn't have to be adhered. You know, you don't need to use a ton of glue, I guess is what I'm saying. You just need enough to get it adhered, and then when you put the glitter glue on, that's also going to help hold the candy cane together, okay? But what I like about that Tombow glue is it dries immediately and you're all ready. So then this goes into, oops, see, and I glued this shut already and I really shouldn't have, so I got to kind of pull it apart a little bit. Okay, so that's going to go in right like that, okay? And I'm actually going to add a little more glue in there and then tuck this inside. Because you don't want that candy cane to fall out. You want it to be adhered really safely. Okay, and I try to make sure that it's sticking up a little bit. Okay, so then once that's glued in, you're going to take your second cup, and I always put my glue onto what I'm backing so that I don't end up gluing the wrong side of the second tag, because I've done that before. Ask me how I know. So I always put my glue onto the die cut and then I add the tag, the backer. Okay, and I put it down, and then pick up what you're trying to glue together and just make sure from the front that you have it lined up well. Okay, and I forgot to cut this little piece off, so I'm going to reach in here and do that really quick. Oops, I'm probably out of frame. This little piece of marshmallow that's sticking out, I'm just going to go in and cut that off. Okay, so there we go. We're at 10 minutes, and this is what I've accomplished. It takes time to make decorative tags, doesn't it? Okay, so, but then again, I'm doing a tutorial too. So, all right, so our next step is going to be to add our tag and our little holly. So the holly is going to go down here on the cup, and that one doesn't seem to be spread out as much. You kind of mess with it if you want. So there's our little holly, and then we need our little tag, and I think I'm going to use Cozy and Warm this time in red. And this is, so what I do is I always ink it, because if you're going to ink one thing, you got to kind of ink everything for continuity. So I ink it up, and then I punch my hole. And if you, there's two different size hole punches I have here, and I don't know if you can see it, but one is a micro hole punch, and one's just a little bit bigger. Okay, and I like to, depending on what I'm attaching, this one that's just a little bit bigger is like the perfect hole size for this tag. So I'm going to use that, and it makes the perfect size little hole. I hope this is filming okay. We'll see for sure when I get it done. And then you're going to punch the same hole in the corner of your little cocoa. Okay, so I just put it up right there. Okay, and then what you're going to do is thread your, here, I'm going to close up my ink so it doesn't dry out. Okay, ugh, just got ink all over my finger, of course. So then I'm going to cut my little piece of string, and there we go. And then I'm going to thread this through the back. Okay, and then you split open the opening and pull it through. Okay, and that attaches your little thread holder. And then onto that, I am going to tie this little tag. I hope you guys can see what I'm doing. I'm just adding it and tying it on. Oop, there we go. You guys can probably hear my son playing upstairs. As soon as we're done with this, we're going swimming today over at my mom's house. So we just had a really nice lunch together. We were doing some computer stuff for him, and we're getting ready to go to Grandma's. So I did bring some foam. So then I'm going to take a little tiny piece of foam, just cutting off a little section. Got stuff stuck everywhere here on my scissors. Okay, so I have a little piece of foam, and I am going to actually adhere the little tag in place so that it stays where I want it. And you can kind of tip it in whatever direction you think looks cute, okay? So we have our tie on, and then the next thing is the little, oh, I don't know what I did with my die cut for the saucer. I'm sorry, you guys. I'm just wandering away. I'm wandering away. Let's see. Well, let me just say that if you wanted to add the saucer, you can go ahead and glue this in place like this. And I would back this with a piece of, because this is a patterned paper, back this with a piece of white cardstock so that it's thick enough, and then glue this in place, and then you glitter glue the whole thing. And so you can see, like, this one has the saucer in place, and then this one I just left plain, and I think you can do it either way, you know. So for the sake of today, the last thing that I would do is add glitter glue to this. And I think I told you guys what I've been using lately is this 3D glitter liner from Viva Decor, and it's called Hologram Iridescent, but I was looking for it yesterday and can't find it anywhere, so don't feel like you have to use the same thing. Any glitter glue, I think last year all I was using was Stickles Diamond. So basically I just go through and I start outlining the marshmallows with the glitter glue. I just kind of go around the edge of each marshmallow, etc. Just outlining and making sure that there's glitter everywhere. And again, this is optional. If you're someone who prefers more of a homespun look without the glitter, you know, you don't use glitter, or if you want to use a different type of glitter, you could do that too. So I also glitter up the candy cane, and I'll put a little bit of glitter even in between the candy cane and the holes where the red shows through. So I go through and I glitter up the whole tag, and I even glitter up the little cozy and warm around the outside edge. So eventually what you end up with after you do all that glittering is something that has a lot of sparkle and shine to it. So that is how you make what I like to call a cup of cheer tag. And again, the main feature is that Tea Time die set from Tim Holtz Alterations line. So thank you very much for watching, and I will be back with more Christmas tag tutorials in the future. Blessings and hugs. Bye for now.